Welcome in to kick off the tip-off with Noah and Gage, here to recap Super Bowl Sunday. Check in on the bets that we thought would hit, the outcome of the game, some predictions we made. Gage, a very eventful night, if I do say so myself. What do you think?
Yeah, no, first off, I'm coming to you from my penthouse in Barber County, West Virginia. Beautiful sights behind me. Um, Super Bowl, I think you and I kind of both agree it kind of sucked in terms of it was just a bad game in general. And that's not taking anything away from Philadelphia. That's just pure domination and BTA for those that know what that means. But before we jump into actual Super Bowl talk, let's jump into a few things here first, man. The scoreboard. Were we watching that game on Nickelodeon, Noah?
That is what it looked like, Gage. I looked at that when it first came on, and I'm like, out of everything they could have chose, I'm a fan of the 2008 ESPN scoreboard,
Yeah,
and then you
nostalgia.
bring out that, and I can't believe that's what they chose for.
It looked like somebody just fired up an Excel sheet and just put it together that way. And truthfully, that's what happens when you spend 98% of your budget on Tom Brady, which let's transition right into that because I've been waiting to talk about this. First off, last night was truly a Chiefs fan's nightmare. Not only did you have to watch pure domination from Philadelphia to win the Super Bowl, you had to watch Tom Brady commentate the game. Tom Brady commentate the worst game in the Mahomes era. I'm sitting there wanting to not only rip my eyeballs out because of what I'm watching. I'm ready to rip my ears out too because I'm listening to Tom Brady commentate.
Yeah, bring back Greg Olson. Bring
He,
back Greg
I'm,
Olson.
he is a terrible listen. Both him and his partner, I thought, for the Super Bowl were a terrible call. All night, I was complaining about that. I was asking where Tony Romo and Nance were. I don't know if it was just me and kind of my not really despising of Tom Brady, but like, my gosh, man, just from a football aspect, I thought he was just – it's just such a rough listen. It is robotic.
And the thing is, only having a couple years, and that's not a knock on Tom Brady to think about. I mean, he perfected his craft in football at the quarterback position over many years. Like it's not something that happened overnight. And I think this is his second year broadcasting, correct? Being a color commentator. I think it's his second year.
It's maybe first,
Maybe
first
first
or
full,
second.
so
It's definitely early, and
putting him
shout
on that
out to
stage.
yeah, for sure. I thought that too. And shout out to Mason Halfin. He brought this key point up. The fact that his ownership with the Raiders, it neglects him from certain things that color commentators need. He's not allowed to go to practices pre-Super Bowl. He can't do the interviews with the players. He can't talk to them pre-game, and it's definitely showing. I mean, it was just it baffles me how bad it was.
They're putting him in a can't-win situation, and I know he came out and said that he will finish his contract with Fox for sports broadcasting, and I understand him wanting to stick to his guns there. Like I said, only 1 year, 2 years at the most experience in the sports broadcasting world, and you get that on Super Bowl night. That's usually the most watched sporting event in America, and just from last night's coverage, we saw, other countries are tuning in, and granted, they're probably not using the same language, broadcast we are, but just absolutely nuts that after a year, 2 years, that he's put in a position where he's going to call the biggest game or the biggest sporting event of the year. It just wild to me, man. Just wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of speaking of language, the new defensive coordinator from the Jacksonville Jaguars, he had a great clip, his former team. He said, an ass whooping is a universal language. It doesn't matter what language you speak. You're going to understand and you're going to know what an ass whooping is. And let's get right into what was the ass whooping of the Philadelphia Eagles beating the absolute crap out of the Chiefs.
Yes, sir. As simple as this, we kind of covered this in the last video we posted. We knew this game was going to be decided in the trenches, and that's exactly where this game was decided. Just a little stat here to bring this up, and I know you're a Mahomes fan here, so this is really going to get you. The entire night, he had 16 pressures on him, a career high. He was sacked 6 times. 6 times. I don't know what the Chiefs right guard was doing, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head here. But
Left, I believe you're thinking left guard. Right guard
Trey
is Trey
Smith.
Smith.
Correct, left guard.
Which he had a couple, maybe one or two holding calls, but it's actually the left guard. His name's Mike Caliendo. Believe me, I'll get my fair share into him. Continue on.
So I just can't believe that they came out with a game plan to play almost passive, like all year, and you've seen that with the Chiefs all year. They kind of played passive all year, and they were able to stay in games. They were able to keep it a 1-touchdown game, 2-touchdown game, and that's or 1 touchdown to 10-point game where you're looking at it like Mahomes has a chance. Mahomes has a chance against a team that has the ability to hold the ball for 7 minutes. The last thing you want to do is to let them go up by 2 scores. And that's what they did. That is what they did. They didn't try and push the ball down the field. And when they did, Mahomes didn't have time down back there to really, analyze the football field and make the correct decision. And granted, Mahomes, in certain times last night, you're thinking, man, what's he thinking? But when you don't have time back there, it's hard to know, hey, I should hold on to the ball, I should get rid of it. And 2, he's just trying to make a play to keep his team in the game because it's a 17-point deficit before you know it.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, that play style works against the Denver Broncos and the Chargers of the world, where you can kind of have a slow start and get away with it 100%. But in the Super Bowl against a team like that, who, as you mentioned, they're able to run the ball, drain the clock a lot, it's just not going to work. And let me say this before I start getting into the Chiefs side of things, as a non-biased fan, let me give the Philadelphia Eagles their flowers, because this was pure execution all the way from the top to the bottom. Howie Roseman building this roster, Sirianni, Kellen Moore, and Vic Fangio put on the game plan of a lifetime. I have never, maybe the Super Bowl when the Chiefs played Tampa Bay, which, I'll get into that later. It was just schemed up perfectly.
Yeah, and I think Tom Brady even came into reference last night when he was referring back to the. I don't want to get into this too much because I know you have a little segment there later, but he even referred this was very similar to the game against the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl a couple years or 3 years ago. The game plan, how it was executed, and he pretty much said he knew when he was the quarterback of the Buccaneers, he knew the Chiefs' offensive line couldn't withstand the pressure that they were going to receive. Same thing happened last night. We've seen Jalen Carter make big plays. We've seen the pressure make big plays in an interception. You got Zach Bond. Like we said, we hit on the podcast. We hit on the last video. Simple as this. Zach Bond make play. Cooper DeJean. I mean, look at that. What a play to 6 it. Not just to get the interception, but to 6 it.
Take it to the house.
I mean, a huge play for a rookie, right? All night, they seemed like they were in the right position to make plays, and they made the plays when they were there. I thought that was very important. We kept saying all year that you can't keep it a 1-score game with the Chiefs. You cannot keep it a 1-score game with the Chiefs. That's exactly what the Eagles knew, and that's what they did. They went out, and once it was over, it was over. They weren't getting back in that football game.
Yeah, and before I go into the Chiefs side of things, Cooper DeJean, that pick 6. Zach Bond catches the interception in Chiefs territory late in the second quarter, which, I texted you before that drive. It was 17-0 at that point, and I texted you, I'm like, they score here, they get the ball at half, we'll see what happens. You have a chance to go down, score, get a field goal, something like that. It's a 2-possession game, and you're getting the ball back at half. But Mahomes, flustered, just throws a duck right to Zach Bond. And even before Bond caught it, whoever he was targeting 3 yards or 5 yards past him, he was double covered. Mahomes all night was just – he was not there. He was too concerned with the offensive line protection, rightfully so, because Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Josh Sweat lived in the backfield. They have penthouses like I do in that backfield.
38% of the time, 38% of dropbacks, they were pressured.
38% of dropbacks, they were in the backfield. Noah, they didn't even blitz. They were rushing for the entire game.
I know.
And here we go, man, because I'm gonna transition right into it. How in the world do you watch that Super Bowl as Brett Veach against Tampa Bay, realize how bad your offensive line is that game, and have the same exact problem in a Super Bowl later on down the line. The fact that they went into this season expecting a late second round pick, Kingsley Suamata from BYU, to protect not only the face of your franchise, but still arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. How in the world is that your only option? You recognize halfway through the year that doesn't work. So you sign DJ Humphries, who, guess what, plays maybe 1.5 games for them before going down with an injury and then coming back, and he doesn't even get any snaps in the playoffs because they kicked Joe Thuney, who his original position is left guard. They have to move him out to left tackle because it was so bad. It was so atrocious. So who steps in and replaces him at left guard? Mike Caliendo. It doesn't take an NFL avid, watcher to realize the guy's not very good at playing offensive line.
I don't agree with those. I don't disagree with any of the takes there. Just in a sense of things that went wrong for the Chiefs that I didn't think would go wrong. I was very hesitant with them protecting Mahomes going before the game. I thought Mahomes might be able to get the ball out a little bit quicker. But let's talk about the interior line absolutely shutting down the run game. I thought that was a big pivotal part in the game where you've seen Hunt and a little bit here and there Pacheco. Pacheco's been on a little injury prone this year, but you look at Hunt and every game he's getting 30, 40, 50 yards, and with extra work other people are getting, toting the rock 5 or 6 times. So those are pretty good numbers. They absolutely dismantled the run game. I mean, Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, they had nowhere to go, and by the time the Chiefs finally got settled in where I thought they were making a little bit of improvements in run game, it was too late to run the football.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this goes back. This was an absolute just soft all around, soft game plan. I thought the players were soft in the game from the Chiefs. And I said pregame to a couple of my friends, if they don't come ready to play physically, they're going to get ran out of the building. And look what happened. It was soft all around. I realize it's hard to run the ball against that defense. But at the end of the first half, Noah, Chiefs had 3 carries for 3 yards. Kareem Hunt, 1 carry, 2 yards. Pacheco, 2 carries, 1 yard. You had 3 rushes the entire first half. You didn't even attempt to establish a run game.
And I think they saw that early on, that when they were, like you said, you only ran the ball 3 times, and I do get that, but when they ran on first downs. Granted, I don't know how. I think maybe 5 times they had the ball in the first half. I think that would be a correct number. 5 times, 6 times, maybe. When you have the ball on every first down, and you're unable to get 3 yards, 4 yards positive game, they were continuously in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and that let the Eagles put their ears back and come after the quarterback. So it's impossible to establish a run game, in my opinion, whenever you're consistently fighting at 3rd and 7. You can't sustain a drive that you're able to say, hey, we're going to run the football here, and we get 3 yards, 4 yards. Where you've seen the Eagles, they were able to come out and take that first yard, 3 downs, and then maybe they'll come out and pass the ball, get 4 yards on second down, and then they get a couple. They might get 2 yards to extend for that first down. They used Hurts and they used Saquon's legs. Saquon didn't have the best. I mean, kudos to the Chiefs. Saquon had the least amount of rush yards all year in that game yesterday. So kudos to the defense. I think Nick Bolton played one hell of a game for the Chiefs last night.
Yeah, outside of that controversy, unnecessary roughness versus Saquon on that screen pass they kind of attempted, 50-50 call in my opinion. Could have went either way. I don't hate the call. I thought he played really well. You just said it. If I told you pregame you didn't know the score, hey, Saquon Barkley's going to run for 57 yards this game, who would you pick to win the game?
I don't disagree at all. I think that's a perfect point.
And this is what I take from that, right? Nobody can say anything about Jalen Hurts as a passer anymore. He just did it on the biggest stage.
And I think that's, too, something to push the point. Did the Chiefs come out? I mean, I think we said it. The way they were going to lose this game, the way the Chiefs were willing to lose this game, was to come out, stack the box, and he throws it over. Jalen Hurts throws it over their head, and that's what we saw last night. He came out and
we're talking some really, really good balls, deep balls to AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, who caught that deep touchdown late in the third quarter to not, I don't want to say seal the deal, but to score that touchdown up like 34, 35. I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're not playing around. Like they're letting the Chiefs know they're just whooping their ass tonight. Nobody can say anything about Jalen Hurts as a passer anymore. You can shut that topic up immediately. 221 yards on 17 of 22 passing, 2 touchdowns. He had that crazy, I don't even want to say crazy. It was just underthrown ball. Brian Cook intercepted it late in the first quarter. Other than that, this guy played flawless. On top of the 221 yards and 2 tutties through the air, he runs 11 times for 72 yards and gets the Liberty push for the touchdown.
Yeah, this was the way I looked at it too. A couple were we'll get into this a little bit later, but a couple of the props we picked, player props we picked. AJ Brown only, I think it was 44 yards. Was that his line? 44, not his line, but what he hit 44 yards yesterday.
AJ Brown finished with 3 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown, and we were damn near spot on because we said he wasn't a high target reception guy. He was going to be around 5 to 6. He actually ends up with 3. His line closing, I believe, was 69.5, so 43 was essentially free.
So just getting into that, even though he only had 43 receiving yards and 3 receptions, I think he won his battle. He did what he's supposed to do. He got a couple go balls, and he got one crosser there at the end or it's kind of like a little slant route there. He did what he was supposed to do, and Eagles played Eagles football, and they won. I mean,
yeah, AJ Brown didn't beat McDuffie with the finesse. I mean, he just was more physical, and it showed. I mean, a receiver like that, McDuffie was a little undersized in that matchup, but yeah, AJ Brown was having his will. And then I went back on my prop and subbed it for Kelsey 40, which he ended with 39. I should have stuck with the Devonta Smith because I was spot on with that. He was just cooking. Jalen Watson or Sharmani Connor, whoever's coming down in the nickel to guard him, had 0 chance last night. That guy last night looked like
a Heisman winner. He looked like a Heisman.
Yeah. And then Jahan Dotson in the first half looked like prime Randy Moss.
Yeah, he catches that one ball.
He 2 catches, 42 yards. The second half, the guy's on the sideline eating Skittles, bro. Like
he was here. He was there for it.
Bro, relatively quiet night for Dallas Goedert too. Two catches for 27 yards. Like Goddard didn't beat you. This was pure just Hurts to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, along with Hurts rushing and Saquon picking it up elsewhere. 25 carries, 57 yards for Barkley. And, I thought watching this too, I think the Eagles will realize this going into next year. I thought Barkley looked really good on passing downs too. Six catches for 40 yards. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what I thought we hit on key in the thing. Would Gainwell get snaps on third down where they're looking for someone who's gonna catch a pass out of the backfield, So when I'm looking at it, and he's catching swing routes, well, yeah, I mean, yes, he's catching the ball out of the backfield, but these are designed runs. This is getting a big physical receiver like A.J. Brown and putting him and Goddard, like thinking of Rudy Gobert, but just getting a running back out in the flat, pitching him the ball, and saying, look, there's 2 guys blocking out there, you got to beat the third. And that's what they did last night. Saquon is an absolute threat at all levels of football, right? Not just inside run, not just outside run, but he will be a solid option at receiving back next year. And I think the thing that's scary is I think they've got a better back coming behind Saquon with not a better back than Saquon, but a better back behind Gainwell in Will Shipley. I think Will Shipley is going to be a very pivotal piece for them next year.
Yeah, complimentary back, Will Shipley out of Clemson. Yeah, I definitely agree with that take. It'll allow Barkley to get a little bit of less touches in the regular season going forward. Man, I mean, just we can sit here and go on and on about the Eagles side of things. Just everywhere you look, they did well. Josh Sweat was phenomenal off the edge. The one thing that I took away from this was the main 4 guys rushing Mahomes from the Philly side of things last night, all 4 first-round picks. Nolan Smith Jr., into the first round. He was picked 32, was coming off the edge from Georgia. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, both obviously. And then Brandon Graham, who came back. He was kind of rotating in and out. The D-line obviously just did their thing. You know, I don't know. Coming from a Chiefs perspective, a Chiefs fan perspective, I don't know if there's much positive to even really talk about on their side because a majority of these stats on the Chiefs side of things came in garbage time. Mahomes at halftime. Let me pull this up for you just so I'm correct. Mahomes at halftime, 6 for 14, 33 yards, 2 interceptions. The pivotal one, Zach Bond just gifting him 7 points. We mentioned the rushing numbers. Receiving, I mean, Travis Kelce, no catches, 2 targets. He had, I believe both of them can be qualified as drops too. Xavier Worthy, 1 catch, 1 yard. It was just non-existent from start to maybe the end of the third, start of the fourth. Chiefs put up 16 points in the fourth quarter to kind of save themselves from more bullying, I guess. But here's what I take away from this. Going into the offseason, yes, you need to address some positional stuff, especially offensive tackle and maybe a guard piece. But Andy Reid has to take a look in the mirror and think about where this offense, reflect on this offense from this past year, because we're so used to the Mahomes coming up, just gunslinger mentality. And for them to just transition to this play it safe, we'll run the ball, rely on our defense. I am sick of it, man. I'm just sick of it.
I would say things they need to look at in the offseason is they've got Worthy. Hopefully Rasheed comes back healthy. Travis, does he hang it up? We don't really know yet. Offensive line, you got to find a combination there that's able to protect him, not only to protect him in the quick passing game, but Patrick Mahomes is best when he is throwing vertical down the field, right? Like, he needs to be able to set back there, let the post get over top of the safety, and sling the ball. That's what he needs. So, yes, did they have a serviceable offensive line this year? Yeah, they did. They had some. They went 15-2, right?
Yeah, let's not. I mean, I'm not acting like this offensive line is bad. It's above average. Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Jawan Taylor, who I mentioned, really right tackle wasn't. I thought Jawan Taylor played a good game. Most of the problems was the blind side. It was Caliendo at left guard and Thuney, who they kicked out from guard to tackle because they couldn't figure the position out.
Yep, and I guess that's the thing I'm looking at is you need to go get guys in here that can protect. I understand you want to be able to run the football, and I get that. But your best weapon is at quarterback. When you let him throw the ball vertical down the field, your team is the most dangerous. So go get an offensive line that fits that build. Go get an absolute dream for a quarterback who wants to sit back and throw the football. Get guys that are going to protect the quarterback, and maybe you don't get a guy that's going to have a 1,000-yard rusher behind him, but you don't need a 1,000-yard rusher when you got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into some of the fixes for not only Chiefs but multiple teams, what I think they should do down the line. Just off the top of my head, Trey Smith is a pending free agent. I think they're gonna have to let him walk because they have so many. They have to preserve money. Hollywood Brown is a free agent. I'd imagine they re-sign. I think he fits the system really well. Couple left tackles, specifically free agents in this upcoming class that, off the top of my mind, fit the Chiefs. Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore and Tyron Smith, previously from, was it the Jets, I believe?
Tyron
was a long-time Cowboy and was with the Jets this past year. Yep. Those are two names off the top of my mind that fit Chiefs. But truthfully, the last thing I want them to do is to try and figure this out in the draft again. Because first off, if you're gonna get a reliable tackle in this draft, you're gonna have to trade up from where they'll be at 31, 10 to 15 spots. Who knows what that's going to cost? I don't like that option. I don't know. I don't know.
A lot of things to address, and like you said, we'll definitely get into that in the offseason. NFL, we plan on doing something weekly for teams. Definitely put in the comments a team that you want to see us not necessarily rebuild, because obviously this isn't franchise mode in Madden, but just what we think they should do in the offseason to better themselves. So definitely put that in the comments if there's a team you want to hear us talk about, and hopefully we can get to them first in the offseason. Just getting back to the game, Gage, like you said, not a lot of things went right for the Chiefs. A lot of things went right for the Eagles, but flowers to the Eagles. Give them all the flowers. They came out and they won that football game. They didn't leave a doubt.
Yeah, and it was kind of awesome to see. You could definitely tell this meant a ton to Sirianni. You could really see the bags under his eyes, man. This guy, he had a lot of sleepless nights. You could tell he wanted this one. Obviously, congratulations to the city of Philadelphia. You know, are they crazy, the fans? Yes, but top-notch sports fans. I mean, you can never put in doubt their passion and love for sports, and
they got to put up with Joel Embiid at the
yeah,
Sixers,
yeah,
so,
yeah. They win the Super Bowl, and now it's off to watching the 76ers. Yeah. So the trade-off, I suppose. But yeah, man. I mean, I think we really touched on as far as the game. I mean, unless I'm missing something, Noah. We can talk about Worthy. Obviously, Worthy, from having 1 yard at the end of halftime, he actually ends the game. 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he catches that long, deep ball, beautiful ball from Mahomes for 70 yards with like a minute left in the game, a minute 57 left in the game, which actually ends up cashing Mahomes over for 250 yards. So just to top one, that's how betting and my Chiefs experience was last night. Worthy, we jump into him real quick, I guess. As Hollywood Brown came back and Reed was able to shift him back to the role that I believe he was originally drafted to play, I thought down the stretch, man, this guy looks special.
I think he does too. And like you said, him being in a role where he can be that Tyreek Hill-esque kind of little guy that gets open, can beat teams vertical. He fits the Chiefs very well. And that's going to be a guy I think that you see there for as long as Mahomes plays, because he's able to get open like Hill, but I don't think he's as dynamic as Hill was with the ball in his hands. But stretching a team vertical, I think that's what he does best. If they can stay, and that's where I guess I'm thinking, you said you think they keep Hollywood Brown. I don't know if they keep Hollywood Brown, because if Rasheed comes back and he's healthy, I think Rice is another guy where he's definitely proven that he can hit those, slant routes. He can hit the drag route. He's a very reliable catcher and can do something with it after the catch.
Well, for sure. Rasheed's undoubtedly wide receiver 1. I can't even really say that he was missed this game, because I'm not even sure that Mahomes would even have enough time to throw him a slant. And while I'm talking about Mahomes, I'm not going to just let him get off scotch-free. There was some plays and stuff from him this game that we've never saw from him before. He was not an elite level quarterback this game, if that makes sense. There were some passes where he just was too frantic because he was, didn't trust the offensive line, or felt like he was getting pressured way more than he was, and just errant throws, just bad throws. It was
come to my brain, 4th and 1, DeAndre Hopkins out route. There's no one. I mean, the pocket's settled good. There's nothing right on top of him, and he underthrows the football on the out route, and the defender for the Eagles knocks the pass down. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I mean, I'm getting deja vu. It's like I'm watching them play the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl in your living room again. It was just, it was absolutely awful. And then on top of that, like I mentioned at the start of this episode, I got to listen to Tom Brady commentate this entire downfall. And all over Twitter, that's all I'm saying. All I'm hearing, all I'm reading is, there will never be a GOAT conversation. This is over. Da 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 da. And Brady's up there just with his stupid little smile and his $600,000 watch. Oh my gosh, man! It was a nightmare. And I had my head on the pillow last night. I'm just like, oh my God, man! It was just awful. I can't. It's just awful.
I understand. I can't understand because the Titans. Next time we see them in the Super Bowl, I hope I'm not in the grave. I mean,
might be. I don't know, man. You might be watching that with your grandchildren or something. It's going.
Sure.
It might be another 20, 30 years, but
sure. Hey, 2-2 on prop bets last night. 2-2 on prop bets. Just shout out.
Yellow Gatorade and Squabble Up. Maybe I had an inside source, maybe I didn't. But Noah, who was a bigger loser, Mahomes and the Chiefs or Drake?
I don't know. I think Drake. Oh. It wasn't Drake until I seen his ex. Until I seen his ex hitting the crip walk.
Hey, the worst part of that halftime show is when he was like Kendrick was kind of blue balling, not like us. Mm-hmm. And then when he started going, bro, they put that camera dead on his face and he went, nah.
All right.
Hey,
I think that wraps it up for this one, Gage. Are you at a good point here?
Yeah. Before we end this one, let's go real quick. Do you see this might just be a dumb question too. Do you see the Eagles sustaining this success? Do you think they build off of this Super Bowl? Because after what I just watched, man, wow, look out, seriously, and especially with Howie Roseman leading that.
I think they sustain success. I don't think they sustain this level of success because I think the NFC is getting a lot better really quick.
Caleb Williams is coming.
Caleb Williams. You got the Lions coming back. You've got Packers who, if they can internally work some things out. And then you have the 49ers who really, really didn't play good this year. And I'm missing a couple other teams there. But and the Commanders, you got the Commanders coming up. So NFC is getting a lot better. And it's going to start to look more and more like the AFC.
Yeah, I'll say this and then we can wrap it up. I think Philadelphia, even if Detroit would have beat Washington this postseason, Philadelphia would have mollywopped Detroit because of their defense, the issues that they had on the defensive side of the ball in Philly.
I don't think they would have stopped the run. I think it would have been a better shootout in that game, though. Only reason, Gage, is because that offensive line, I think, could have withstood what the Eagles were able to bring.
Yeah, Penei Sewell, Graham Glasnow, a couple other guys on that line would have definitely – yeah, they would have had a way better chance. The Chiefs, obviously, they're not going anywhere. They'll be a 1 or 2 seed next year. We'll see what happens going into the offseason.
Super Bowl prediction for next year. Let's go ahead. We have it on film. What do you got?
I tell you what, I'll get my NFC team ready because I know what yours is, so go ahead and drop it.
Okay, my NFC team is going to be the I think I gave you a name. I remember giving you a name a couple weeks ago. Refresh my memory.
Oh, yeah. You were Buffalo versus 49ers.
Buffalo versus 49ers. That was it. Yeah, I knew I gave you that, and I was like, man, I can't think of what the game. Yep, so Buffalo versus 49ers is my prediction. What do you got?
I believe this next Super Bowl is actually in San Francisco, isn't it?
I believe.
Yeah, so actually I'm gonna go another Super Bowl rematch. No, I think Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl and they play the 49ers. 49ers get healthy, as you mentioned, a team you're very high on next year. And hey, before you cut this off, I'm dropping you and I'm leaving this episode with this. Kenny Pickett has more Super Bowl snaps than Josh Allen. Turn it off.
All right, like, subscribe. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching.
Appreciate you guys listening, man. Thank you always.
Yes, sir.